All right, Geek Outings here to cover Crisis Part 2, the last two episodes we have for lifelong friends living in different cities talking about geeky things because that's just what we do. I had to turn it off because we were talking too much before this started. Editor coming from San Antonio, Texas.
Yep, as always, Bobby Joel Cole chiming in from Santa Monica, California. Can't wait to geek out and get our geek on this.
This is Boba Fresh from Earth 401.
Rob Loostog Lucy, the Oregon of Truth. Spoilers ahead.
Damn.
Let's jump right in.
Dun, dun, dun.
Nice. So, episode 5 starts off. Obviously, the multiverse is dead. They're in the, I forget what it's called, the little hole in the wall. And you start off with Maltus. We get the background on the monitor. Yeah, that was pretty close. The Vanishing Point is what it's called. I think, Lucy, it's called The Bleed in the comics right now, right?
The Bleed connects all the multiverses, and that's more post New 52.
That's interesting. The Bleed is from the Authority and Planetary. It's from the Garth Ennis run. And when they started making the Garth Ennis stuff actually overlying with DC continuity, I thought it was just for cute references within his comic books, but that's interesting that it's now become canon.
Pretty much immediately, everyone has been there for months, right? So, like, Ryan Choi is, I keep wanting to say Roy Choi, but I know he's not a vegan chef. But Ryan Choi, is that right?
I believe it's Ryan, yeah.
He has the beard and everything, so just to show that they've been there.
Oh, the Paragon of Humanity. The Paragon of Humanity. Love the character, by the way.
No, I did too.
It is not Amadeus Choi, and that's I think that's what your biggest concern is. Do not
Amadeus Cho.
Yeah, there. Don't get mixed up.
The Asian Hulk.
He did have some really good lines in the show. Some meta lines like, wow, you think that this alien forest would look a little more alien. Like, he could have just capped that line with, and not like Vancouver. I mean, it was so on the nose.
It's funny you say that because, like, two of my notes I have is him saying Lex is a douchebag,
yeah,
and an asshat. He says both in separate occasions, and I was like, okay. We can roll with this language on the CW these days.
At least the Paragon of Humanity knows that. Not all is lost.
Where is the Paragon of douchebaggery? That's what we're looking for right now.
Well, that was Lex.
So let's just start with the maniacal Oliver as Spectre. That is
maniacal.
Well, because he didn't look the part, he didn't act the part. He didn't even have white skin. I mean, he has white skin, but he doesn't have white skin. He's dead. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, you know what? Part of the challenge I think there was also for Stephen Amell is the Arrow always has a flat affectation. You know, he's always like, you have failed this city. You have that, and it's always just very flat, monotone, gravelly, like Batman. So to be the Spectre, he has to make it even more flat and gravelly, even as a voice effect. But it's still the same persona, which is kind of why his character is good for it. But at the same time, yeah, it's you know, it was weird. It wasn't truly the Spectre. It was Ollie plus, you know, Oliver Queen plus. Because he had all his memories. He still had his connections with his people. So, there.
Bobby, you have been right in many episodes. You have never been more right than at that moment right now.
Well, thank you.
What do you guys think about the costume, Strider?
About the
Spectre costume, or if that's even what you want to call it. Yeah.
I thought that, I think that the Spectre was a little underwhelming, to be quite honest.
Yeah, and I think, and also, I guess Emily Beth Rickard is coming back, so he'll probably have a goodbye scene with Felicity, something like that. They'll have a bunch of flashbacks. He's got to have a goodbye scene with Diggle, you know. I mean, we already said spoilers, but I mean, that didn't happen in this, and I mean, Diggs even has a heartfelt moment about that. So I mean, I think they're going to wrap it up all in that way. But yeah, Stephen Amell is being written off as a regular character. It is a like, you know what? We made this analogy before. It is kind of like an Endgame of sorts, a Marvel's of Endgame, because it's a passing of the torch. Just like Stephen Amell started this Arrowverse, Tony Stark started the Marvelverse, and how fitting is it that he sacrifices his life to give the universe a rebirth, which is also a loaded word in the DC universe. And you know, I think it really is, and to go into like the next phase or generation. I think it was a very like awesome send off in that episode.
Bobby, I agree with you 110%. Great way to send Amel off. I was going to try to count them, but after he fights the Monitor and passes away, they spend an inordinate amount of time talking about we'll never see him again, and going back to Diggle. Yeah, he's like, I didn't get to say bye twice. They have given him the chance to say bye to Diggle. I'm sure we'll see him in the last two episodes of Arrow, and they've given him the opportunity to cameo anything he wants in the not only in the CW but across the board. As far as I'm concerned, they did a great job. Strider, what do you think?
I think that it's really dope. Bobby makes a great point with the rebirth observation. Lucy, you nailed it in regards to the way that they're setting it up in the future to perpetuate the stories within the spin-offs. The Diggle storyline I thought was really good. It wasn't that he didn't get to say bye twice, it's that he didn't get to save him twice. Diggle saw himself as this destiny of being there, and I think it's really interesting because after losing my dad recently and being lucky enough to be there with him, it just kind of got me thinking. And then there's this idea that Diggle isn't focusing on all the times that he was there to save him across these seasons. And so I think that there's going to be an interesting growth point for him springing forth to kind of realize and accept that it's not about that one failure, it's about all those successes.
As Bobby had mentioned, great points before last episode, do we see him moving forward as the John Stewart Green Lantern?
Okay. Again, I do not watch this. So he's Guardian, right?
No,
yes.
No, Jimmy Olsen was Guardian.
No, he's the Spartan. It's his own. It's basically Guardian, but he has his own name.
Okay. Hey, cool. Didn't have a shield. I was kind of bummed about that. But Lucy, to your point about John Stewart, I was like, well, I mean, if you take off his helmet, he's got a green suit on already. And then, you know, let's not get to the end of everything quite yet. But they established that that is a viable place for his story to go within the universe. I love Lex. There's certain aspects about this that are always going to be B-movie, that are always going to have, like, the graphics will never be that clean as Lucy's head is right now. And so with that said, Ducky's Lex fits in perfectly with this particular universe. Lucy, what'd you think about him?
I haven't been watching the CW, but when I jumped in on this, one of my favorite characters coming out of the whole Crisis on Infinite Earths. I'm glad they made him part of the main universe. Looking forward to seeing more of him. The whole Book of Destiny thing was a little bit cliche, or
one thing I wanted to bring up was how hilarious this Superman is and the way that people act around him. Because Barry pulls up and is like, yo, this is a private conversation. Can you go over there? Like, what? What the fuck?
Then we get Ezra Miller. What a dope cameo. What a wonderful scene. They don't acknowledge him in the universe later on, but in that cameo, he says, "Oh, you don't know what's going on." So he's not. They acknowledge he's not affected by the anti-monitor in the CW Prime universe.
And also, R. Barry says this should be impossible right now, meaning that those worlds shouldn't be crossing in a meta sense, like the TV and the movie worlds. I like that.
Yeah, and they left it open for the Warner Brothers cinematic universe to do their own Crisis on Infinite Earths if they want to.
I mean, truth be told, Warner Brothers is dealing with their own cinematic crisis with the DC universe already. So I guess that kind of makes sense. And it's even more meta on that level.
All of their worlds are falling apart individually.
Hold on to the Jokerverse. We need the Jokerverse.
When the CW has the best of the DC universe, yes, the universe is in crisis. The multiverse is in crisis. That being said, epic.
Why can't we have a Batman show? We know it's going to do good. We know everyone loves the Batman movies. Why can't we have a Batman TV show on a recurring thing? You can give us Gotham, which is just so Batman, like near adjacent. It's like was a little satisfying because you have Batman villains in it and a Bruce Wayne as a kid. But why can't we have a proper Batman TV show? Why?
If I have to answer this, my answer would be the reason you don't know what happened to Jesus between 14 and 35. You got to leave that open. You got to. Otherwise, the mythos is dead. You need a little mystery. Wolverine fucked it up already.
It's true, and we're eventually going to learn out what Baby Yoda's species is named. So we're losing our mysteries, Bobby. Let's not lose them all.
Yeah, stop advocating for it too. By the way, Bobby, go home, go to sleep.
Put a brown shirt on.
Back on topic. Okay. Let's focus. Let us bring it back.
I mean, so I feel like that episode was just a lot of things happening. That is fucking awesome, man.
Okay, well, we didn't get to the final fight scene, which was awesome at the end of that episode. Like, if you're going to do a CW thing, okay. My favorite thing about this, all action, no relationship, drama, BS. That's one of the big reasons I don't necessarily like the CW. I guess you need to throw it in there, but this one did not have it. Did the fight scene at the end of the episode. They did the comic book justice. You can tell that the people that write this, the people that direct this, even the actors, love and respect the comic books. What do you think, Rob?
To get on exactly what you're saying, the fact that they saved the budget for the special effects for when they were needed. Example given, we didn't need that Lex Supergirl fight to see it happen. Like, they gave us those two well-edited frames. We saw everything exploding in the background. And in that way, they really embraced the B-movie aspect of the TV show. But later on, when we get, again, Avengers Light, when we get the Civil War scene and they're all lined up and they're running at the Shadow Demons, like, that was dope. That's what you save your CGI budget for right there, to have all of those Shadow Demons and have this big set piece end up going down.
The fifth was a bit of an epilogue. I think the climax happened at the end of the fourth episode.
Gotcha.
And then, in my opinion, the fifth was an epilogue, and they were able to wrap it up nicely. So, my question, what did you like or what did you dislike about episode 4?
Honestly, I didn't dislike anything about it. What I disliked was the social media response this morning. I hated the fact Grant Gustin's page at fucking 6 in the morning, Texas time, okay? It's 4 a.m. LA time. I'm sure they're in LA or Canada, whatever the fuck they're at. That's how mad I am. I'm just trying to take my morning shit before I get ready for work, and I open up Instagram, and there it is, Ezra Miller shaking hands with the fucking Grant Gustin flash. costume. I love that they didn't pinch nipples. I wish they would have pinched each other's nipples. That would have been nice. Would have made it better for me. But what year is it that we don't recognize the spoiler thing anymore? Like, what was it, 2001? Like, fuck me up all day, man. I was going to cut my hair today, and I didn't. So that's what I didn't like.
You want me to give you a white patriarchal perspective on that?
You know I do.
That's
Okay.
why you're here, Lucy.
Okay, that's what I thought. That's why I want to put this. That's why I want to drop the corporate
Bobby's face.
dogma on you right now. I agree with you. I think it's a bullshit ass thing to do. Why I think they did it, I think it was a strategic move to get more people to try to watch this. If they can blast it across social media and people that don't even are not interested in the CW or even interested in the Warner Brothers universe, they see these two worlds colliding. They're more apt to watch the CW for this Crisis on Infinite Earth thing because they're tying it into the cinematic universe and vice versa.
So you're telling me you
I'm
think...
sorry you had to be a victim of that.
So
I want to get in on Lucy's comment in regards to the marketing maneuvering of them doing the crossover. I agree completely that it was this marketing move. It was the best move that the CW could do because DC's best thing besides their animated universe, and that's the only thing that would have made this better, is if they had an animated Earth as part of this cycle. That was the only one thing that I was waiting for. With that said, them doing that great crossover is the one thing that they have now over Marvel. It's the one thing that they get to lord over by having an actual TV cross-universe. Yes, Agent Coulson existed, and you have the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in that sense, but by them doing this, they get to kind of nod and wink at Marvel's highfalutin, no, we don't want no Defenders in our grand ending. I thought it was really good. Also, I want to note that I thought it was really interesting that due to Ollie being the first and this being Arrowverse and not Flashverse, that it's really interesting that Ollie, in my opinion, ends up taking the spot of Barry Allen on the cosmic treadmill for real, because now Ollie can be the person who does the cameos in anything going on in the future, just like Tony gets to do cameos anywhere he wants in the future, as opposed to Barry popping up for the last 30 years throughout comics in any crisis situation. You just can have two panels show up and Barry's like, oh no, don't kiss her. Oh, don't kiss her. You kiss her. Spoiler alert, you kiss her.
What did you think, Bobby, as a lifelong DC fan? How did they represent the original story?
Well, you know what? Not only as a lifelong DC fan, and Crisis on Infinite Earths is one of my first favorite comics that got me into it. Like after Death in the Family, was Batman. So not only do I feel like they did a great, reenactment depiction of it with real life characters. Like I'm also a huge fan of the Arrowverse from the beginning. I loved every season of Arrow. There were some off seasons where I struggled through it a little bit with the flashback, but I mean for the most part, I mean Stephen Amell was fucking great as Arrow, and it spawned the Flashverse. I mean Flash show, and thought that was amazing. And then DC Legends of Tomorrow, I thought was. Katie Lotz was so popular that even after she died, she was brought back and they given her own show. So it's like, and it's all spawned from Arrow. So I love how, first, I think that they did a great job of reliving the old story. So much so that, tell me this, and I know this is a little peek ahead to episode 5, but didn't you think Supergirl was almost going to sacrifice herself when she had that moment she was just diving into the Anti-Monitor. You're like, wait a second, are they really going to do this moment from the comics? It was like you really thought that they were going to do that as well. And it was like, yeah. And then they teased away at the last moment. You're like, no, she has a whole show. They're not getting rid of her show. I mean, yeah. But it was like, that's how good they stuck to the comics that I thought that they were going to give us that too. And also, let me just say, I got to, again, give Stephen Amell kudos because by the time, first off, You Have Failed This Universe was delivered so great and without any irony, such a great way. And then also, that was the third time he died in, 2 episodes? And it still was emotional. And it still was a good, like, farewell with, like, the teardrop and him, like, talking to people that he helped spawn other TV shows of their own. That were, it was just, I mean, just kudos to the CW on giving that story the props that it deserves, and also just delivering with its own characters.
You know what was dope? Lex. Lex constantly was fucking Lex throughout the entire thing. Man, fucking Lex, man.
Well, how about this then? And again, I don't know if we're just sticking to it, but we have been going for quite a bit here. They left him a hero, right? I mean, they rewrote it. They didn't really touch on the fact, like, was he no longer a villain and had been incarcerated? And how does that change his storyline with his sister in the Supergirl thing? Because he's a known villain.
So, let's go into the last episode. The universe rebooted. What did you guys think about what you saw? Not the end, not like where you get where the universe really is yet, but like the beginning of the soft reboot. DC loves to do soft reboots.
I thought that I want to get into how they got to the reboot real quick, because like Lucy said, like the penultimate episode 4, seemed to be more of the climactic episode with the big fight and Ollie and the antimatter-verse quarry.
That was weird.
That was super weird. But with that said, I actually like that they had the second fight with the growing anti-monitor and them all doing what they can with their power sets believably. What I really enjoyed was them having a good, believable answer for their universe of how to defeat him, infinitely shrinking. Spoiler alert.
So on that note, the Microverse, is that trademarked by Marvel or DC?
It's trademarked by Marvel for the toy line that they used to have. I thought that was a cool little meta nod that they ended up doing, because they're actually trying to do Micronauts again as a reboot. And on another awesome meta note is when Diggle's like, I'm not letting my kid watch this show. And I was just like, that's dope. That was dope.
Well, he was talking about Bebo.
Yeah,
Bebo. No, they were inadvertently mentioning crossovers and the CW as a whole.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
Because Bebo as a character on, oh my God, I don't need to get pissed off again, but like watching Legends and that whole Bebo season is one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. There's not many things that I won't rewatch, and that I mean, there's a lot of things that I rewatch, but there's not many things I don't rewatch. I'm like, okay, I watched it, it's done, it's out of the way. There's not many things that leave a bad taste in my mouth because of geekdom, and I'll find some little nugget of love in it. I'll be okay, I watched it so I could see that. The Bebo thing, no. Fuck Bebo and fuck Grant Gustin.
You know what? I got to say a couple of things I didn't like with this episode, how it started off. One, we got no Cisco in the second half of this thing. Cisco, without him being a Paragon, would have just everything got reassimilated, so everyone knew about the universes always being together except for the Paragons. I wanted to see how that, reacted with people more, because I mean, Heatwave and Rory and Killer Frost didn't seem to know who Black Lightning was, but supposedly they've all been in the same universe this whole time. Like, there's a lot of backstory that didn't get played out in the epilogue considering only the Paragon should have known that there were multiple universes. So I'd like to see that played out more. Also, let's just put it out there so it's mentioned. Martian Manhunter was not gentle with his mental jump starts.
No, yeah, 100%. Let's talk about Martian Manhunter's completely unethical telepathic mind rapes. Like, Martian Manhunter's intrusive, I do not know what the rules are on Mars.
No offense to you, Lucy, but it was a very white Martian thing to do.
Well,
This is like, here you go, boom, done.
Martian Manhunter, John Jones, has done that in the comic books before. And somebody who has not been following the CW and Supergirl, I think they did an outstanding job portraying Martian Manhunter.
Wait a minute, are you backing green Martians or white people right now?
Both.
So white Martians.
No, white Martians are aggressive and angry.
Oh, I thought we were talking about
White people and green Martians are way different than supporting white Martians.
I don't know, man. White Martians.
Throw it up. Is that what he was trying to throw up the whole time? White Martians? I gotta go back.
WM. White Martian, yo.
White Martian.
You know what's funny? You might be throwing up Marv Wolfman, who made a cameo, by the way. Hello, we haven't even talked about that, bro. Fucking the creator of Crisis.
No, I got stuck on the corner of Perez
Come
Plaza.
on, man.
I got stuck on the corner of Perez Plaza. I didn't get to see Marv Wolfman.
No, I saw the Perez. Marv Wolfman was the guy who asked for an autograph.
I
He said spell it Mars. Make it out to Marv.
Yeah.
You two are in the same place right now. Here's a picture of you together.
I also like that he was like, how long have you been together? He's like, yeah, forever. I've been doing this shit forever.
Exactly.
You see this cool vinyl coat I'm wearing? I bought it with a paycheck drawing you.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you didn't know anything about comics, his cameo was so, like, odd that you had to look up Marv Crisis, right? You look up, like, Marv and then Crisis and see what comes together, and it's Marv Wolfman. You know, he did Crisis, man. It was done well. It was a little cheesy, but it was fucking awesome, man. It's CW.
And again, when we talk about this being the Marvel version, the Wax Museum version of Marvel Avengers, that's the perfect Stan Lee stand-in. Because he just like, his acting is just like, and could you, because there's also this beauty of being like, how much does he hate having to sit there and sign shit over and over and over at conventions? And so like to have that meta turnaround and be like, here, fucking sign it. God damn it, sign it. Why don't they ask Superman to sign this shit? I gotta sign all this goddamn shit.
Definitely.
Oh, and also what I wanted to say, who was it? Oh, it was Strotter that predicted it last time. At the end of episode 4, we saw a goddamn Care Bear stare. We saw them all stand in a line and focus their intentions up onto Holly.
100%. I did call that. I forgot about that. You are right. Because that was the silliest use of "we are paragons."
Yeah.
Because the quote was, because Supergirl's quote was, "Focus with laser-like precision."
On an abstract concept.
On 7 different concepts. On 7 different concepts about the human condition. just laser-like precision on in all of those. And look at Ollie and do it. And by the way, and look at Ollie, who just came back from the dead and is now a specter in a voice of the galactic forever after. And think about hope. Think about love. Don't be depressed.
A Care Bear stare, but no one's there, and no one cares, I believe was your quote.
And Episode 6 on my notes, it just says "fuck Bebo" in all caps. That's all it says.
Wait, episode 6? What are you talking about?
Well, it means 5 in my notes.
Oh.
I include Black Lightning. I know you guys don't. But. So, this will be the time where I need to make amends because Black Lightning is a great character in the CW, and I watch the show. Not religiously, but I'm definitely at least in season 3, and I know most people aren't. They're still trying to watch season 1. It is a really good character, and I feel like they've made him more prominent than he was in the comics in terms of this universe, which is great. He's an outsider, but not here, except they make him one in the show for the crossover. He just jumps in. Hey, my whole universe is dead. Oh, yeah? Well, help us save this one real quick. Okay, because I'm that kind of guy. Like, that is it's an admirable thing, man.
So let's get to that big finale reveal I think we all loved, was when they revisited, which Ed and I had a little discussion about prior. I'm not sure if they revealed that same building in an early episode of Flash. They may have, though. So it's a decommissioned research area of Star Labs that happens to be a real-life version of dun, 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 the Hall of Justice. Outside, you get the theme music, you get the outside view, and then you get the sound of a monkey being loose and seeing that it's Gleek. A cage has escaped, and so it's literally tying it with the Super Friends, and I mean, such a beautiful move on CW's part. I loved it. What did you think, Strider?
I thought that they did the final thing. I guess maybe in that way, that's the tie into the animated universe, doing that Super Friends. I would have loved it if it were animated, and or if they showed Gleek and they did it Mary Poppins style and just drew him swinging in from the top, just like, yo, I don't know how I exist in this universe. I'm Roger Rabbit, bitch.
I didn't get really emotional during a lot of it, but seeing that at the very end was like, wow, that's 10-year-old cartoon me seeing that, you know, with the Wonder Twins and you know, that version of the DCU, and that's why this was such an amazing crossover.
The Christopher Reeves at the very end, him doing that flyaway and then doing the Christopher Reeves smile, man, that actually is the one thing that made me tear up a little, because it made me think about how dope Christopher Reeves was as Superman. Like, it falls in the same category of how lucky we are to have Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker, to have Chris Evans as Captain America, and in this universe to have Steve Amell be such a decent human being, such an awesome off-the-court personality, if you will, and be so upstanding, but still be, you know, like, as good as he is on screen as he is in real life, quote unquote. And I thought that they did an awesome job kind of noting to that. But I thought that all of that was, all in all, real cool to kind of like tie in those things. Oh, again, I do not watch DCW that often. Wild Dog is Spanish from...
Yeah. Old school?
Did not
all
know.
Day. He's been that forever, man. I've noticed that from day one. I was like, what the he's buff.
I'm happy. I was like, oh man, I'm so glad you're getting paycheck Spanish. Oh man. Good for you. Good for you.
Looks like the Puerto Rican from Head of the Class.
Bobby, what are you looking at, Bobby? What are you looking at?
All right. Nash Wells. Why the fuck is he still there? But isn't it wrong to make him feel guilty for everything? Like, they're just like coming down on him hard. Like, this is your fault. You did it. Like,
fucked him up hard. And then he
Are you talking
brain
about
fucked him.
Pariah?
Yeah, well, he's not pariah anymore, but like he didn't even remember who he was when he was pariah, and they're just like, "It's your fault. Like you're the one who did this. Like you let the anti-monitor. Like what the? He doesn't. He just woke up from a coma. Like he doesn't know what the fuck is up."
No, they zapped him, and he was like, "I'm so
This
sorry."
is the worst.
Strader, imagine you waking up from your coma after the fire, and everyone's yelling at you. You're like, I'm just trying to stay alive. Like, what's going on again?
But Strider was a good person before the fire. Wells was not.
I haven't even left the room I was in a coma in. You do not have to let me know I destroyed every Earth possible. Like, give me a break. Let me take a piss. Let me take a piss first before you tell me I've destroyed absolutely everything.
Okay. On that note, there's one other thing that kind of like offended me. Not offended, it made me question things. When they give the device to Supergirl, and then he says, "Throw like a girl," and then she throws like a girl. Oh my god, dude! That's the moment to like, take a comment or a line that is just such a masochist fucking statement. Like, fuck you as a female. And then she just throws it like a 2-year-old who just picked up a ball for the first time. Like, what the fuck, dude? Why didn't somebody train her how to throw for one time? You're not on the mound at a fucking Dodger game. You don't need to throw it all the way to the home plate. Just mechanics, man.
And she even
Mechanics.
says always do. Like,
I 100% agree with you, Ed. She pushed it away from her. She did not throw it at all. She literally like just pushed it. I also thought it was really refreshing to have a competent president that said things that reassured you when crises were falling out. Lex Luthor's a better president. But that's a different topic for a different world.
wow,
LexCorp.
the show got political all of a sudden.
Hashtag LexCorp is better than the White House.
All right. Geek Out Tap. Ready to close out tonight. The tap is empty, apparently. Our batteries are drained. San Antonio Ed, editor, closing out.
As always, it was super fun. Bobby Joel Cole chiming in from Santa Monica, California. Like and subscribe us. Check us out on Instagram and like this channel. You'll check out every new episode. Keep on geeking out.
Boba Fresh, California Republic. Representing San Francisco, Mid-City, LA. The I-5. The 110. The 10. PCH. The 17. And always all the 80s. 380, 80, 580, 280. All them 80s. But I ain't no 85. Stay righteous.
That's awkward, but Rob Lucy, the Southern Oregon of Truth, chiming out.
Is there a northern?
Comment, subscribe. Hey, shut up. Don't talk over me.